Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. As always, Lindsey, good to see you.
Good to see you. I feel like so much time passes between the week when we don't see each other, but it's another happy Friday.
Exactly, yeah. It's a shame we don't get to do this more often.
Yeah, we will. Tell Robbie to be absent. No,
That's right. Get out of here, Robbie.
So coming up on Rising, I'll be criticizing President Trump's latest executive order targeting homeless people.
We'll also discuss how Republicans are calling for a special counsel investigation in the Obama-Russia election probe.
And we'll talk about how the FCC is greenlighting Skydance's merger with Paramount.
President Trump says that everyone should see what is in the grand jury transcripts from an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein.
A Florida federal judge had denied the Trump administration's request to release the files, which are from 2005 and 2007.
The president took to Truth Social Thursday and said Democrats have gone absolutely crazy in fueling what he calls the Jeffrey Epstein scam. He wrote, quote, "As things are revealed, and I hope will take place quickly, you will see that it is yet another Democrat con job. Hopefully the grand jury files will put an end to this hoax. Everyone should see what is there, but people who are innocent should not be hurt." Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche met with former Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell's attorney said she answered every question and had a, quote, "very productive day." The meeting's details were not disclosed.
Now, Senator Chuck Schumer criticized the meeting. Let's take a look.
Sending Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Todd Blanche, to interview Ghislaine Maxwell while she's in prison, a woman who's been convicted of abusing people, to offer some kind of corrupt deal so that she can exonerate Donald Trump, just stinks of high corruption.
On Thursday, Democrat Senator Ruben Gallego introduced a resolution demanding Attorney General Pam Bondi release all Epstein files. Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin objected, calling Gallego's move political theater and that it wasn't Congress's job to tell the DOJ what sensitive files to release. Let's watch.
The American people are not stupid. They know something is off. They smell it. If Donald Trump really wants these files released, they'd be out already. Instead, he's orchestrating a cover-up, and he is not acting alone.
We all want transparency. All of us want transparency. We want to know actually what happened. The American people want to know what's happened. But what this resolution does is it actually is a blurred line between the separation of powers.
Also on Thursday, the New York Times added another element to the Wall Street Journal's reporting that Trump allegedly sent Epstein a bawdy birthday letter. The Times is reporting that Trump's name appeared on a contributor list for a book celebrating Epstein's 50th birthday. The Times says this is evidence that he was part of the collection, despite Trump denying he ever sent Epstein a bawdy birthday letter. There's so much here. I think like both sides of the aisle are interested in this, and it's not Democrats, obviously, for the reason of this being sensational, and I'm the first one to admit that this was hilarious, and not the circumstances of the case, but the fact that everybody's piling on and finally finding something bipartisan to agree on. But I also think, to piggyback off of Chuck Schumer, like when we talk about Blanche, who now works for the DOJ, who was Trump's personal lawyer. This is somebody who represented him during his hush money trial when Trump actually became a felon, and has a very personal relationship. And that's usually what happens in government. You put people close to you in high positions that actually are equipped to do the job. But he's going there and talking to Ghislaine Maxwell. So naturally, you have to say, what is the conversation about? Because Ghislaine Maxwell, although she's in prison, has one of the most effective lawyers in the world. And so he wouldn't allow a conversation that is not necessary for Ghislaine, right? She's already charged and in prison, to happen unless there was some benefit to his client. And so the fact that they're meeting and talking, it's like, so what were the parameters around this meeting? What is the give and take? And I think that's what even more people, and even the MAGA base, is going to ask, what's happening here, and how does this elevate or push forward the story outside of a potential pardon coming down the line, and at what cost, if she does what? Because this is still somebody who harmed children.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it seems like they're inching towards a deal, or her attorneys at least are going to try to work for a deal, whether that's reduced prison time or early release, whatever it is. But, you know, on Todd Blanche, he was a career prosecutor before joining Trump's legal team and being in government. He was a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York and had direct experience working on racketeering cases, which is obviously directly relevant to what happened with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So if this meeting does get us closer to having the opportunity to prosecute some of those other individuals who were being recipients of the minors that Epstein was accused of trafficking. I think that's overall a good thing. On the grand jury files, I'm curious to see what actually gets released. Are they going to have to black out names of victims and of perhaps perpetrators, right? Because they're not going to want to release information that does catch up people who they don't have evidence to actually charge, people who may have been falsely accused. But we also want to have a conclusion to this case, because at this point, the reason why people are so dissatisfied is that they were told that there was this massive human trafficking ring of minors, and yet the only two people who have been held accountable for that are Epstein and Maxwell. So I do think the Trump administration has handled this overall very poorly, and now they're trying to basically throw a bone to the base to say, well, we'll release the grand jury transcripts, we'll talk to Ghislaine Maxwell, we'll see what we can do, when originally what they promised was to release all of the Epstein files.
And I think that's the thing. It's like these are small potatoes. Ghislaine Maxwell potentially speaking or saying anything, and then also saying that, Florida denying the request recently to release anything that they have. Like, the federal government has the capacity and access to thousands of other files that people are calling for release of. I mean, the Treasury Department, everybody has access to information that's way more important, and with names of victims, I should add, already redacted, that's way more important. So just release the information that you have the capacity and control over, as opposed to relying on the pushback from other entities saying, oh, we're not getting the information. Like, if Ghislaine doesn't cooperate, oh, we tried. Like, that is not adequate when you have information in your possession that people want to see, because allow them to say, oh, there's nothing here. I mean, it's going to take journalists and other people who are interested in this to comb through it. It's going to take lawyers and experts to comb through all the stuff the everyday person isn't going to. But when people get their hands on it, they can tell you how they feel, and you can just settle this. But I think the most disturbing part for me, as somebody who wasn't completely interested in pursuing this story so far as now it's gone, is the fact that even with the Trump administration, who generally is unafraid of having direct conversations, they are telling or calling the entire staff, from reports with NBC News, to say tight-lipped about Epstein, be in line with what the messaging is. So this is a redirection from what they usually do, as well as just also throwing these other bones that are completely erroneous at this exact time. Like, oh, MLK is out right now, or oh my gosh, we're gonna put Obama in jail. And it's just like all over the place. It seems like a frantic measure to say, look over here, we're not talking about Epstein.
Yeah, the Daily Caller did talk to some senior administration officials a few weeks ago when the memo was first released from the DOJ, indicating that they wouldn't be releasing all of the files and that there was no further investigation or prosecutions happening. And those individuals were really upset and frustrated with the way that it was handled by the DOJ. They felt like, one, Pam Bondi saying that there was the phase 1 binder and handing that over to influencers, but then never releasing the phase 2, saying on TV that she had the client list on her desk when she hadn't even apparently reviewed the documents that were on her desk, obviously gave the perception that this administration is involved in a cover-up. I also think it's transparent to people, though, that the Democrats see this as a political wedge issue, because they had 4 years under Biden where they could have called for the release of the files. They had total control of government at one point during that time frame where they could have released them themselves, and they never called for that. And when Hakeem Jeffries was asked about this during a recent press conference, he said, well, you people just keep bringing up Biden. But I think it is a salient point.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely playing politics here, so I can be the first one to admit that. But I think now we're here and they have to release them.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Republican congressman now calling for a special counsel into the Obama-Russia probe after Tulsi Gabbard accusing some of the Obama administration of treasonous conspiracy. We'll break it down after the break.